Hey, Brett and Heather, I am a 28-year-old male trying to find a long-term romantic partner. If you were young and stuck in the modern dating environment, what criteria would you use to sort a potential good partner from a potential bad partner? There's so many crazy beliefs and ideologies out there now, so how do you sort wheat from chaff?
Well, I will say this. This is what dating and long courtships are really about. Not just about belief systems, but about features of character that make somebody a worthy partner. And what I would want to know as the primary question is, how open is your partner to rethinking their position on absolutely anything in light of evidence? And I don't mean evidence in a narrow sense. I mean the kind of evidence that accumulates during a lifetime. Because I've come to think that almost everything that we are told on, well, virtually all subjects, but especially mating and dating stuff, it's all bad. It's all broken. It's all the result of the fact that somebody said something that sounded clever to other people and they decided to promulgate it onto the population. Promulgate, is that the right word? To promote it. And very little of it stands the test of time. So there's no more important thing than finding the right partner. And many of the people who could potentially have been the right partner are removed from that either through developmental damage that causes them to have circuitry that's counterproductive, or have wedded themselves to beliefs that will end up being toxic. And so somebody who may come to the table with any set of beliefs, but the point is, actually, I hold those set of beliefs because what I've seen suggests to me that they're most likely to be right. But if I saw evidence that suggested they weren't right, I'd change because that's the obvious thing to do. That would seem to me like the number one characteristic.
Yeah, I mean, that's where my head was going too. The language I was thinking about it in terms of was open and adventurous. And I think that does apply to both sexes. But I would say that is in tension with the sort of pseudo openness of the woke left, who are, the only thing they're open to is everything that already happened is bad. And they're interested in destruction rather than creation. So, being inherently wedded to your beliefs because they're what you believe, or they're what your family believe, or they're what you have already believed, that's not actually an argument. And even if at the moment you meet such a person, you and she, in this case, I assume you didn't say you were straight, but are entirely aligned, people do change. People must change. It's part of what we are. We have these incredibly long lifespans. We change our ideas, we change our values, we change where we're interested in spending our time and our thoughts. And so if you know that you will, and even if you're totally aligned at the point that you meet, but she, or for someone else, he doesn't have the capacity to, or the interest in ever changing, that's simply not going to be a long-term arrangement. With all that said, I mean, this is certainly both of our biases. Someone who thinks independently is interested in, adventures, both literal and metaphorical, breaking new ground in any number of ways, on terrain, in thoughts, with craft, with sport, with any number of things. But there is a tension, especially now, and I've heard this from a number of people, and we've seen some of this, wherein, especially among young women, many of the most sane-seeming, most generous and actually caring and thoughtful young women that in some communities are findable are explicitly Christian. And Christianity is not inherently unopen, but it's obviously a faith, a religion, a set of ideologies that do constrain what it is that you might allow yourself to believe. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I just wanted to acknowledge that there's a tension there that I think I've heard from other parents of sons who are of an age or soon will be of an age to be looking for long-term romantic partners, as you know, as our sons are of that age at 22 and 20, that they hope that their sons find a good Christian girl, even if they are not themselves Christian. And I have certainly had that thought myself. I would hope that that is not in a permanent or irreconcilable tension with the openness, the independence of thought, the adventurousness of spirit that used to be easily what I would say was the top priority. But there's so much crazy right now that chaos, like just chaos, women more likely than men, frankly, can look like they're open and adventurous and spirited when actually they're just chaotic. And chaotic is the last thing you want.
Yep, I agree with all of that. And I think you could describe the tension various different ways. But the value of some sort of traditional relationship with something ancient like Christianity, on the one hand, if it's ancient, there's some kind of logic there. And the adoption of it is going to be in tension with a willingness to embrace the new. And in some sense, this is a mirror for the problem that we're all stuck with, which is there's a temptation to abandon everything that worked. That's stupid. Mm-hmm. The embrace of everything that worked in light of the fact that we don't live in the circumstances where that stuff evolved is also problematic. So let's put it this way. I think the best thing you can do is find somebody who you enjoy and feel reinforced hashing this stuff out with, because you're going to spend the rest of your life doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you travel well together, that's a really good sign.
That's a really good sign. Yeah.